a serial murderer, serial killer. You ruined the lives of your family, your children, and many people in this courtroom. You've bloodied and stained the medical profession. Absolutely abhorrent what you did, sir.
Hello, 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 sweet baby angels and pumpkin heads. It is your girl, Miss Tetra Resinstone. In today's video, we're going to be looking at New Jersey's very own angel of death, Nurse Charles Cullen. Cullen murdered scores, perhaps hundreds of patients in his career. This deadly angel of mercy was always able to find new victims. Over 16 years, Cullen was fired or forced to resign from at least 5 Pennsylvania and New Jersey hospitals despite co-workers' supervision, medical errors, and investigations. No complaints ever reached the state's medical licensing board. His record appeared unblemished when he applied for new jobs. Cullen's weapons of choice? Medicines, usually used to save lives. Mostly the heart drug digoxin and diabetes treatment insulin. After his arrest in December 2003, he confessed to at least 40 murders. Some believe he left a trail of 400 corpses. Now, he's had some early traumas that may have contributed to the creation of this monster. Born West Orange, New Jersey, in 1960, his father died when Charles was an infant. Even as a child, he attempted suicide. When he was 17, his mother was killed in a car accident. Cullen's experience at a Montclair, New Jersey hospital that night of the accident scarred him for life, wrote Charles Graeber in his book on the case, The Good Nurse, a true story. Cullen arrived at the hospital not knowing that his mother was dead. He asked to see her, but his request was denied. Her body had already been whisked away for cremation. After his mother's death, Cullen dropped out of high school and joined the Navy, where he continued to make unsuccessful attempts on his life. After his 1984 discharge, Cullen enrolled in a nursing program in New Jersey. The only male student, he excelled. By 1986, he appeared stable, married, and working in the burn unit at St. Barnabas Medical Center in Livingston, New Jersey. Patients started to die while he was part of their care team. Autopsies would reveal abnormally high levels of insulin in their blood. Hospital investigators also found that some IV bags had been intentionally contaminated with insulin, but the probes went nowhere. Cullen continued to work there until early 1992. Later that year, he moved on to the cardiac and intensive care units at Warren Hospital in Phillipsburg, New Jersey. During that time, his turbulent personal life was unraveling. His wife left him, taking the couple's 2 children, citing drinking and cruelty to her pets as among other problems. Not long after she moved out, Cullen was arrested for harassing a female coworker. He once again tried to kill himself. Still, despite this alarming mental problems, he continued to work at the hospital. Then, in August, he was accused of killing a 91-year-old breast cancer patient. Cullen gave her an injection, and within a day, she was dead. She died of heart failure. Her son was in the room when Cullen said he was giving her a shot. This woman had been recovering well, but her condition declined rapidly after Cullen gave her the injection. For reasons that have never been explained, the medical examiner failed to test for digoxin. Police interrogated Cullen and gave him a lie detector test, which he passed, so no further action was taken. Cullen worked at Warren until the end of 1993. He moved on to another hospital and he was fired. His personal life was marked by suicide attempts and stays in mental institutions. Even his neighbors were afraid of him. None of this kept him from being hired to take care of frail, elderly people in Pennsylvania nursing homes. On May 8, 1998, resident Francis J. Henry went into crisis, resulting from a plunge in his blood sugar level. Cullen's supervisor told administrators that she suspected that he had given Henry an insulin overdose. She lost her job. In about 15 years, after short stints in 9 hospitals or nursing homes, he landed at New Jersey's Somerset Medical Center. He was fired or forced to resign repeatedly for incompetence and drug theft and misuse, and was involved in several unexplained deaths. But the reasons for his chaotic work history were never communicated from his previous workplaces to his prospective employers. At Somerset, as with his other jobs, even if people were on the mend, they started dying when placed under Cullen's care. One of them, Reverend Florian Gall, was brought in for a dangerously irregular heartbeat in the spring of 2003. Doctors treated him and he improved so much that there was talk of sending him home. Then, with no warning, Gall died of a heart attack. Examiners found the cause, dangerously high levels of digoxin in his system. An investigation showed that Cullen had been caring for Gall and that the nurse had taken digoxin from the pharmacy. The hospital alerted police. With the help of one of Cullen's co-workers, detectives got a confession from the killer, who told how he used lethal doses of drugs to do away with his victims. Ultimately, Cullen would go on to plead guilty in court.
You do swear the testimony you give to the court in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Please state your full name.
Charles Cullen.
And you spell it C-U-L-L-E-N, is that
Yes,
correct?
yes, correct.
Good morning to Mr. Cullen.
Good morning.
Do you wish to plead guilty this morning?
Yes, Your Honor.
And are you pleading guilty because you are guilty?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Mask, would you be kind enough to elicit a factual basis for the plea?
Yes, Your Honor.
Your Honor, may I ask one question?
Yes, you certainly may.
Did you inject Ms. Stoker with any medication?
Yes.
And was it your intent to cause her to expire?
Yes.
And what agent did you use to accomplish that intent?
Digoxin.
Okay. You had access to that patient at Somerset Medical,
Yes.
and you injected that patient
Yes.
without authorization?
Yes.
With the intent to cause death?
Yes.
And in fact, that patient died?
Yes.
And the agent employed by you was?
Digoxin.
He was handed 2 consecutive life sentences, with a minimum of 85% of the sentence served before parole.
You are hereby sentenced to New Jersey State Prison to 2 consecutive life sentences, which, with the application of the No Early Release Act, that is NJSA 2C:43-7.2, mandates a period of 85%, or approximately 127 and a half years of parole ineligibility.
This angel of death, as he became known, inspired a New Jersey law that requires healthcare professionals to sound an alarm to state consumer affairs and licensing boards if they suspect workers pose a danger to patients. It's known as the Cullen Law. Now, this story, this true crime story, had me gooped, gagged, put together. And I think the biggest thing that I took away, obviously, you know, the victims' heart goes out to them and their families. But what's really interesting to me is that Cullen was so proficient in murdering his patients and his victims, yet he could not take his own life. Now, I'm not saying suicide is ever the answer and that we, you know, should go down that path. And I do understand that, you know, we should never make a permanent decision based on temporary feelings. But how is it that he's got a past peppered with all of these attempts of his life, right? He's tried to commit suicide all of these times and has failed each and every time. But when he sets a sight on a victim, he damn sure knows how to make sure that they, quote unquote, expire. I think it's interesting. I don't personally, I think he's a narcissist. I don't think that he would take his own life, clearly. Who knows why maybe it's for attention. Listen, I don't know. I don't want to, you know, comfort this guy, but clearly he's very, very sick. He's very, very ill. And it really, really does break your heart when you think about, you know, the trust that's violated, right? This is a person who's supposed to take care of you and take care of your loved ones. You know, he worked in hospitals and he worked in retirement centers, or, you know, the old folk home where people go and they, what is that called? Where you take your kids? Anyways, where the people go when you're older and you're needing some assistance. He worked in those places and he had access to these patients, and he chose who lived and who died. It's really disgusting. It's very, very heartbreaking. It's very, very sad. And I don't know. It gives me the creeps. This guy is creepy as hell. I'm sure you guys got the creepy vibes as well. Let me know what you thought about this entire video. Let me know what you guys thought about this case. Sound off in the comments down below. I always love to see what you guys have to say. Find me on social media. You can find me at Twitter at Resinstone, on Instagram, Tetra_Resinstone, and of course YouTube. Make sure that bell is turned on. Subscribe if you haven't, and I will see you in my next video. Until next time, bye-bye.